As a therapist, I am asked a lot of great questions every single day. And many of them I'm asked repeatedly by different clients. So tonight, I'm going to reach into my mailbag and I'm going to be answering many of our frequently asked questions from our clients. So the first one has to do with scars. So if you've had a surgery, we're going to be talking about scars and how it impacts the body. The second one is chiropractic care helpful for me? So I'll be sharing my thoughts on chiropractic care and myofascial release. And we'll also be answering questions on if I have osteoporosis, can I do myofascial self care safely? So I'll be answering this as well. But as we get started, I always like to make sure that I am going through our disclaimer. Um, the information I'm providing you is definitely educational and for informational purposes only. I'm going to be giving these answers and talking about this to the best of my ability and knowledge. And so it's not something that I want you to replace something that you would be seeing a physician for, but it's definitely additional information for you. And if I don't know something, I'm going to be honest with you and I am going to let you know. But tonight, I'm going to be answering these questions. I also want you to be asking questions. So whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching it afterwards, go ahead and if you have questions come up, post them in the comments and I would be happy to answer them. But as we get going, first question that we are talking about is how do scars impact the body? So I want you just to think back on any surgeries that you've had. Would you consider that scar something that is a large scar? Would you consider it something that's small? When we have clients coming in, that's one of the first things that I'm checking for is if they've had previous surgeries. And if they have, I want to be checking those scars, no matter how small they are. If that scar is small, if it looks smooth on the surface, that's just the tip of the iceberg. We don't know what's happening deeper within that fascial system. And many times those scars can be frequent problems or contribute to a lot of the problems that our clients have. When the scar starts to adhere down, it's going to start to create pulls via that fascial web. And many times it's starting to pull much further away than what we think that scar should. And so a lot of times it is going to impact many things in distant areas. For example, we have a lot of people come in with migraines or plantar fasciitis. You would be amazed at how many times those two things maybe connect to a past episiotomy scar from when a woman was giving birth, or maybe a previous tailbone injury. We see a lot of our clients, especially our female clients, coming in with a lot of low back problems. So one of the first things I want to know is, have they had children? And if they have had children, was it a vaginal birth or was it a C-section? Because many times you don't realize how much the scars and the surgeries that we have through our abdominal region, how much that will impact what's happening in that low back pelvic region. So I want to be checking those C-section scars. And you would be amazed at how many times we start palpating along those C-section scars and the woman is shocked at how tender it is, how tight it is. And many times as we're palpating along it, they will comment to us, hey, those are the symptoms that I feel in my low back. And they didn't realize that connection to that C-section scar. So we definitely want to be looking at scars. It's not just those C-section scars. It's going to be our hysterectomy scars, gallbladder, laparoscopics. If you even bumped your head on something and have a scar on your head, I want to be looking at that scar too. So it's any type of scars anywhere on the body. They can really have a great impact for a lot of the conditions that we have and see our clients for. In the ideal world, we want those scars to now become more pliable. We want them to be able to glide and move. Because if those scars stay and adhere down, when we go ahead and move our body around, we're now going to have a lot of resistance, a lot of a lot of friction that's happening. That's going to create inflammation. It's going to create pulls on areas that then is going to reproduce pain. So we want to get that scar more pliable so that when you ask your body to move, that scar and that tissue now will glide along with it. So scars aren't always the issue, but it is a really important place that we want to take a look at. So what questions do you have on scars? Share your information on anything that you have experienced with your scars. Go ahead and share it in the comments. But as we go along, now I'm going to transition into talking about, is chiropractic care helpful? We get asked this question all the time. And when we look at chiropractic care, their main goal is they're going to manipulate a joint to start to help improve joint motion, to improve the alignment and the function. Our bodies are striving for alignment. This is a really important thing. It's looking for balance, it's looking for alignment. But I'm going to come back and ask you, why are the bones moving out of alignment? Take a moment to think about that. Why are those bones moving out of alignment? And I'm going to tell you, those bones, they do not move on their own. The muscles and the soft tissue is what moves the bones by pulling on them. So I'm going to take it one step further. If we look at the fascial system, that is the environment of that muscle. So the fascia wraps around and within every single fiber within that muscle. So when we develop adhesions or restrictions within that fascial system, what's going to happen is it's going to start to pull the body out of alignment. It's going to start to pull those bones out of alignment. So when we see clients coming in and they're getting regular adjustments, but their sets aren't holding, or if we have someone that's coming in and they comment to us, the chiropractor has a really hard time adjusting this area because it's just too tight. We absolutely have to be addressing the soft tissue and the fascial component. Chiropractic care can be extremely beneficial, but I have found it to be much more effective when we are addressing the fascial tissue or the soft tissue component. You'd be amazed at how many times we have clients come in and they tell us, hey, I got an adjustment shortly after I saw you last time, and my chiropractor asked me, what am I doing different? He was amazed at how easy it was to adjust an area he has not been able to adjust for a really long time. So when we can do the myofascial work before someone's going in to get their chiropractic care, it's going to allow those areas to be able to adjust with more ease. It's going to allow those areas to hold that set much better after that adjustment. So we usually are encouraging people, if you are getting chiropractic care, get the myofascial work first, and then within 24 to 48 hours, go ahead and set up an appointment to get an adjustment. And you'd be amazed at how much easier those adjustments are, as well as how much longer they're able to hold. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Go ahead and share them in the comments, as I know many of our listeners do receive chiropractic care. Moving on, I'm moving on to our next question is, I have osteoporosis. Can I do myofascial self-care, and can I do it safely? We have a high number of clients who do have osteoporosis. And they're always wondering if it is safe for them to continue their myofascial self-care. And I'm going to say absolutely, but with modifications. So osteoporosis is a more serious progression of osteopenia. So when we have someone come in with osteopenia, we start to make modifications with the intensity that they are doing with the exercise. But then when someone actually transitions to more of an osteoporotic state, there are things that we absolutely need to have a lot more modification with, because the risk of fracture is so much higher. So things we want to take into consideration are anything that is going to flex or rotate through the spine. So toe touches with twists, crunches, doing a lot of our stretches where we are rounding our back forward. This is going to create a flexion in the spine. It's also going to create a compression through the ribs in the spine. This predisposes you to fracture. So these are areas that we absolutely need to modify. If you go to a gym, many of the gym equipment puts that upper back into a rounded forward position. We want to stay away from this type of equipment. I do transition people out of doing also standing and seated hamstring stretches because this encourages that flexion through the spine and through the rib cage. So what do we want to be doing? I love when people are incorporating free weights, but they're doing it with proper posture. We also transition a lot of these clients to doing stretches on their back rather than in a standing or seated position. And I love walking and going on the treadmill versus utilizing an elliptical machine. From a myofascial standpoint, with modifications, we want to be looking at decreasing our intensity. We want to be modifying positions. So ways that we can do this. If our clients are used to using their 4-inch ball, we may still be able to use that, but more often than not, we're going to go to something like a rolled up towel. When we're doing this, many of our 4-inch ball techniques we've done laying on our back. So we have a lot of weight going into those ribs and that spine region. So we're going to eliminate this. We're going to recommend that someone is doing this more from a seated or a standing position. And we talk them through how to modify this to an appropriate way. And then you can also incorporate, instead of the ball, use that towel. Other things that we might modify, instead of doing something on a hard floor, I may transition them to a bed. So it is a softer environment for them. If they've been using the foam roller, we're probably going to roll some form of a towel, but not all the way, so that they can continue to get the opening that they're looking for. The other thing that I take into consideration is I don't like to do a lot of exercise or self-care around those lower ribs or upper abdominal region. These are areas that many times have a lot of tug into those ribs, and these are common areas that people will fracture with osteoporosis. So we do want to take that into consideration. When I am working with my osteoporotic clients, I am working with them one-on-one to help them modify these techniques so that they are safe for them, so that they start to understand what they are able to do safely. And for all of you, I encourage, if you do have osteoporosis, you want to be working with someone that does have the knowledge on how to modify what activities you are doing to eliminate or decrease your risk of fracture. So if you have any questions on that, please don't hesitate to add them into the comment section. But I also want to recap what we've talked about tonight. We've talked about our impacts of scars. We've talked about chiropractic and if it's beneficial and how it relates to myofascial work. We've talked about osteoporosis and how we can make modifications to safely do myofascial self-care and exercise. I would love to hear any questions that you have or how you incorporate many of these things into your day-to-day, or if you have specific questions, add them into the comments and I will be adding them into a future Facebook Live. Speaking of Facebook Live, we are coming back live next week, and I'm really excited. On Monday, September 19th at 6, I will be bringing in a special guest, Cindy Bensley, will be joining me, and we will be talking about everything related to menopause. She actually supports women transitioning into and through menopause to help them navigate that journey. And so we're going to be talking all about menopause. So if you are close to menopause, going through it, have a friend that's struggling with it, please share this information so that they can come on and they can listen to our conversation next Monday. But as always, I am available to answer any questions that you may have, or if you are interested in learning more about any topics that we talk about here or in the future, please go ahead and don't hesitate to send me an email, and I am happy to start a conversation. Thanks, everyone, and have a wonderful night.